This film is about survival. It's an explanation of how to stay alive under the most extreme conditions, in the snow, in the woods, or even in the jungle. Not many of us will ever be tested to find out if we know enough to stay alive in dangerous situations. But the way in which we face everyday problems, how we solve them in the ordinary circumstances of life, is not all that different. It's a matter of preparation through training, of self-reliance, of being positive, of being able to work alone and with others. More than anything else, survival is a matter of using our skills at the proper time against the hard, cold challenges that come our way.
I'm Jim Marshall. I'm defensive captain and a member of the front four of the Minnesota Vikings. I'm 6'4", 245 pounds.
Adversity is something that we all run into every day in many different ways. Overcoming adversity is something that Jim Marshall knows all about. It's something that's built into the rules of all sports. And sports have to be called a training ground where we all learn to overcome problems and learn to survive. These lessons can be applied anywhere.
I've been in a lot of tough competitive situations in my life, but probably the toughest was a situation that I was faced with last winter, and it's one that I almost lost. We were on a snowmobile trip. The possibility never occurred that anything serious could happen. It was a complete and total pleasure trip for all of us. This was our vacation time. We were out to have fun. The storm that came up behind us, after a while, had immobilized our snowmobiles, and we were faced with the situation of getting out of mountains, mountains that we had absolutely no knowledge of, and we were in an area where very few people knew where we were, so we knew that rescue would take a long time. We were on foot and going through snow that was approximately 20 feet deep. We had temperature drop to approximately 80 below zero. We had winds up to 100 miles an hour. And I was faced with a situation where I had never been involved in before. There were 17 members in our party. One individual was killed or died, however you'd like to express that, but he didn't make it out. I'd like to think that one of the reasons that I was fortunate enough to make it out was because of my background in sports. I look back at some of the situations that I was faced with. I think about some of the almost impossible situations that came about over the 48-hour period that I was out in the woods. And the only thing that I can attribute my success in making it out and being rescued is my background in athletics. I refuse to accept death as a possibility. I refused to let myself deteriorate to the point that I had to give up. I think the basics that I've learned in my career in sports helped save my life. I learned that, number one, you should never, ever let the possibility of giving up enter your mind. You have to think survival, think back to the basics, go all the way back to the beginning, to the basic things in nature, such as keeping warm, eating. I think that probably the main motivating factor is that I knew I wanted to live. I didn't know exactly what it would take to live, but I was willing to pay whatever price that I had to pay to survive. And I think this is something that mainly pro football taught me. Regardless of how adverse a situation is, there's always a way to get out of it, and get out of it successfully. And I had to keep plowing, keep going, keep pushing myself as much as I possibly could until eventually I was rescued, or I got in a position where I could save my own life.
A hiker is missing in the mountains. Search and rescue operations are mounted quickly. Time is the element that counts most when a life is in danger in these mountains, and because of time, every member of this search and rescue mission is ready to move out, fully prepared for all sorts of weather and any sort of terrain, and at a moment's notice, 24 hours a day, 12 months a year. Mobilizing for a rescue mission brings together many different people with many different skills. They come together at a base camp to work out the strategy of the rescue. It's very much like a game, and the staging area is their locker room. Here they talk about their opponent, the miles of forest, the mountains they'll be searching, the rivers they'll cross. The members of this search and rescue team are young, but they all know the area and what's involved. They also know that in a short time they'll be moving out into the forest and the mountains, where every bit of training and experience they've had will have to pay off in order to win this contest with nature.
Some people around the country do various things for their types of activity. Some people are involved in basketball, some people in football. Out here in the Northwest, one of the things that we do for activity is to help people who get lost in the forests and the wilderness areas. We do this in the form of search and rescue operations. In our search operations, we work with local law enforcement agencies to respond on a moment's notice, to assist people who find themselves having problems anywhere basically in the Pacific Northwest. We have a group of young men who respond anytime, day or night, to the call for help. Explorer Search and Rescue is a very time-consuming project. It's a program which requires a great deal of dedication, a great deal of effort, and a great deal of time. These young men must be in top physical condition. They must maintain a personal sense of responsibility, a devotion to helping people.
Personal equipment go.
Training is one of the most important things that we go through. They've got to know what they're doing once they're out in the forests so that they don't become part of the problem themselves. Training is accomplished over a school year, and the young men meet regularly and go through such things as first aid, radio communications, basic grid search problems, survival, such things as mountaineering, rappelling. They've got to be well-versed in all of these areas of activity. One of the highlights of the program, of course, each year is when they get to work with the military in helicopter operations.
This helicopter and the crews are part of the 9th Aviation Battalion, part of the 9th Infantry Division forming at Fort Lewis, Washington. This particular mission, which we're on, is in support of search and rescue operations in the local community. It gives us a chance to get out and work with the civilian community, and it's a really great experience for me. I find it personally rewarding. A mission will run such that we'll get a call back at the battalion and scramble the ship to come to a central communications point. from there, we'll branch out, either fly a search pattern, or finally, when the injured man is located, we'll actually go down and pick him up. And the terrain that we fly in sometimes is, well, not exactly the greatest. Mountain flying particularly is a challenge. It's something that gives us a real chance to test our skills.
Team leaders, pull an equipment check, please. Let us know in operations when all of your gear is ready to go.
We've got 3 teams that'll be going into the field today. The information that we have is that the subject is located in Township 3 South, Range 9 East, up on a ridge to the east of here near a place called Umbrella Falls. The terrain is quite steep, and there's numerous cliffs around in there, so we better send the types of equipment that the guys are going to need to make an emergency medical assessment of the situation and to give them urgently needed first aid. The 9th Aviation Battalion from Fort Lewis are also going to have aircraft down here that we'll be able to utilize for this particular mission. A program like this has a great deal of self-satisfaction that comes from saving a human life or being involved in the saving of the human life. We gotta make sure that the guys are all well aware of the fact that we deal in the commodity of human life. This is a type of a program that provides these kids with a great deal of adventure, a great deal of fun at times when we get out and do our training work, but it's something which we do as a community type of program with a great deal of community support.
Rappelling isn't the easiest way down a cliff. It's the fastest and the most efficient. And that's not much of a consolation to those of us who do it for the first few times. Calling it a confidence builder doesn't help much either. But that's not the primary purpose for doing this. Not all of these mountaineers do it well, but they do it. And what's more important, they learn that they can do it if they have to. And now they have to because there's no other way into an area where the hiker is lost and perhaps injured. Necessity makes the impossible a little less frightening. To anyone who has ever been out in the forest or looked down the steep face of a rock cliff, the competitive aspects are very clear. At first it looks like the only competitor in the game is nature and the obstacles that she's put in the way. But nature's not the whole problem. Part of the problem is yourself. And what you're fighting is your will. All you have to fight with is guts. Can you take it? That's one question. Can you make it? That's another question. There are no cheerleaders up here to watch you, and there's no score for the record book. Proving yourself is one of the satisfactions you'll get, and the reward is saving a life.
The fun and adventure that comes with it are the things that happen as a result of the program and are not necessarily the primary things that happen in the program. We deal in human life, and the guys are well trained and well equipped to take care of themselves and take care of the people that they find.
For halt! For halt! For halt!
Bruce? Get your jacket off. Jacket off. Bravo team.
Bravo team.
We have located the subject, possible shock, fractured right arm. Request litter and chopper.
Copy. Request litter and chopper. Possible shock and fracture of arm.
Get his arm easy. 10-4. Easy.
Litter crew is on its way.
Two of you guys go out and get the litter. Bring him in here. Bring the litter over here. Head first, over here. Take out the pack phone.
Well, I've been in the unit about 1.5 years now and rose up through the ranks. I got interested, really. There was a show on one night on TV on the Sierra Madre Mountain Rescue Unit, and I saw that, and I thought, well, that's some work to be in. I wonder if there's a unit around here. I made a few inquiries and came up with John's name and gave him a ring and said it's an open program. Anyone can join if you're 14. And I looked at it and I thought, it's something to get into. It's something to be involved in. Some way I'm helping someone else besides myself in life. And through helping them, I'm helping myself because I learned so much from the unit. The mountain work that I've had has helped out. The training I've received and the cooperation with the guys has been fantastic. Every time something else happens, we learn something new. It's kind of hard to say. We've been in this unit, this business, really, for over 10 years now. And we've had quite a bit of rescues and quite a few failures. And every time, there's always somebody some reporter or something that comes up and asks us what we're doing here. And every time, it kind of makes you stop and think, because each time you've got a different answer. When you pull somebody out alive, it gives you a warm feeling inside, like you've done a good job for somebody. And when they come out of it bad, it makes you think a little about your own life and everything, and what you're doing. It's hard to say, I know. The mountains are beautiful. It's a great place to be on the weekends instead of sitting at home watching TV. It's hard work. It's worth it, though. We've spent many hours in the field before. Come out sweaty and grimy and dirty and hungry. Every time we go back in. I've never had anybody refuse to go back in. I don't think any of us have.
Survival is an idea that exists on a lot of levels. The usual meaning is just staying alive and fighting to exist. But there are other meanings that have nothing to do with fighting for life in the forest, the snow, or the mountains. Most of us will never have to face a life or death situation, but we're going to face situations something like this. Maybe not even on a football field, but somewhere we're going to have to rely on ourselves to pull through. To be ready for that, we're going to have to find out about ourselves. In this form of survival, and that's what it is, we have to know how far we can push ourselves. Survival is an attitude that says, never give up. You have to think winning, always. And the best way to learn that for yourself is to get involved in sports so that you can learn to have confidence in your abilities. And confidence only comes when you learn that there are no limits, no situations that can stop you. In the competitive situation of sports, overcoming adversity is built into all games. And what can be learned from sports can be applied anywhere, anytime. All you have to do is get out there and try.
Survival depends upon the use of good judgment based on experience, in combination with a certain inner toughness or willpower. It means striking a balance between being careful and being bold. It means knowing about yourself, exactly what your body can do. It means being able to stand back and look at a situation and realize that exhaustion and fear can affect your reasoning. It means being able to utilize the skills that you have, to take advantage of your stamina and strength in order to get yourself out of a problem situation, no matter what it may be.